So we're really lucky to be joined today by two Lib Dem parliamentary candidates. We've got Kamran Hussain and Dr. Jack Holland. So thanks, guys, for coming in today and speaking to us about your campaigns and how it's all going.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for the invite.
No worries, no worries. And just for students who might not have seen you before or heard about you, could you both just tell us a little bit about your background and how you've come to become the Liberal Democrats parliamentary candidates for this election?
My name's Kamran Hussain. I'm the Liberal Democrat candidate for Leeds North West. I'm a Headingley-based solicitor, running a law practice in Headingley for the last 12 years or so.
So my name's Dr. Jack Holland. Some students will know me because I work here. I'm in the Politics and International Relations Department. I'm an associate professor in international security. I joined the Lib Dems after the referendum in 2016. My wife's from Germany, my son's a dual citizen, so we've really felt the trauma of Brexit on a kind of everyday personal level. This has really cut to the heart of who I think we are as a country.
One of the Liberal Democrats' policies is to legalise cannabis and reform its access through a regulated cannabis market in the UK. Is this encouraging greater drug use by acting as a gateway drug, especially for students?
As a criminal defence solicitor, I come across many clients who've been arrested for a small amount of possession of cannabis. What the current market is actually doing is allowing people to sell cannabis which is not controlled as such. It is allowing organised crime gangs to thrive and make money on the black market. I would love the day when people stop using drugs. But we have to face reality, and the reality is that we need to control this in some way. And over the years, history shows us that prohibition has not always worked well.
Just to move on to another policy in the manifesto that was released last week. So it's about 0-hour contracts. So I know even in the strikes that are happening at the moment, that's a big issue for lecturers in the university here, so it's clearly a big issue for students as well. So the Liberal Democrats proposed a policy to give workers who are on 0-hour contracts a 20% wage rise. So I was just wondering, can you ensure this pay bonus isn't actually going to make insecure work more attractive to employees?
In terms of 0-hour contracts, we absolutely recognise that this is not a good thing. And this is why we've actually addressed it but we've addressed it in such a way that it is possible in the workplace. What you can't suddenly have policies which are too radical. I don't know, I'm slightly contradicting myself because a minute ago we were talking about cannabis, but currently in a marketplace where businesses are struggling, we need to work with businesses to ensure we can eradicate the 0-hour contract, encourage people to be in proper employment, and to ensure that people are paid properly for the work they do. But it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And one thing we can't sometimes do is push too fast, too quickly, where we'll be met with a wall as a response.
But just to, if you could just further explain how the increase in a pay rise will bring that number down.
Well, if you're talking about 20% pay rise more for people on 0-hour contracts, an employee will suddenly should start to think, well, if I had somebody on a contracted hours, I will have to pay them less. So that's encouraging actually the employee to think, well, I will benefit by not paying extra the 20%. And there's also a policy, if you move forward, that in 12 months' time, 0-hour contracts should no longer be there for that employee as such. So it's a two-stage process that we're proposing, and it's really encouraging employers to think, well, look, financially, I will be better off by having somebody on a contract rather than paying them 20% more on the time they do.
As Liberal Democrat candidates, what are you planning to do to tackle the climate change problems?
You're absolutely right about raising the climate issue. One thing I must say to you, it's not an issue that only affects students. It's an issue that my generation and further field really need to think about it, because I want to leave this planet in a better place for my children and grandchildren than I find it in. Now, there's a number of things that we need to do. If you look outside now, there is transport gridlock. The roads are gridlocked. That cannot be a good thing for the climate. Cars are leaving our fuel. And this is why I'm pleased that the Liberal Democrats have pledged to spending at least £100 million on a mass transit system in Leeds. You've also got things like renewable energy. We need to move away from fracking, for example. We're absolutely committed to stopping fracking. We've got policies about planting 60 million trees a year. So there's got to be a very number of policies that takes us towards the green climate issues.
Do you think it's more important to be realistic rather than over-promising and then voters being disappointed in 4 years' time?
I think it's a case of setting high targets, because the higher target you've got, the more ambitious you should be. But it's also to back up with money, because what happens in the past, we can talk about things, but if the investment is not there, then these things will not be able to be carried out properly. And the Liberal Democrat manifesto is properly costed. Everything that we're pledging to do has got figures next to it, and we've shown how we're going to raise those funds with it.
We're moving on to the big topic now. We couldn't really have an interview with the Liberal Democrats or any party in particular without talking about Brexit, a massive issue in this election. So the Liberal Democrats' policy, as is well known, is about revoking Article 50. So the Leeds Northwest region was a heavily Remain region in the referendum in 2016. First of all, Kamran, does this make your seat a must-win seat for the Liberal Democrats?
In terms of our Liberal Democrat position on Brexit, it's very easy. We believe in stopping Brexit. And the reason why we want to stop Brexit is because we believe that the deal we currently have, i.e. being members of the European Union, is the best deal on the table. Whatever deal is negotiated, whether it's a blue Brexit deal or whether it's a red Brexit deal, it's not going to be good enough. So remaining in the European Union to us is critical in order for us to move forward.
But for the voters who did vote for Leave, or Remain voters who want to respect the result of the referendum, are you disregarding their vote at all?
We are not disrespecting anybody's views. One thing the Liberal Democrats have always argued for is for the people to have the final say to decide whether the deal is good enough or not. We're absolutely clear for every Liberal Democrat MP that people elect, it gives us a mandate to stop Brexit. Now, unless we form a government with a majority, we will continue to pursue this matter in a final referendum, a final say. And what we are saying is, regardless of whatever the deal is, that should be put back to the people in a final say for the people to ultimately decide whether the deal negotiated is good enough or not.
So, in reality, are you making this a one-policy election on Brexit?
Absolutely not. Currently, this election has more than one issue, but right at the top of it is about stopping Brexit. Because once you stop Brexit, you will then have a 50 billion Remain bonus, which has been independently verified, in order for us to invest in public services and reduce inequality. But one of the biggest problems we've had is Brexit has got in the way over the last 3 years with everything else happening. This government and Parliament has got bogged down in talking about the red Brexit deal or the blue Brexit deal or something else, or no deal Brexit, that the governments have failed to deal with all the other critical issues.
We are having this election because of Brexit.
Yeah.
So the reason that this is happening after 3.5 years is because Parliament in its current composition can't resolve an issue because of the lack of specificity in the initial referendum. That's always been the problem, is that Brexit on its own doesn't mean anything. The Liberal Democrats are saying what we would do, we've written it down, we're asking your vote on this one topic. This is the most democratic thing we could possibly do, is to continue to fight for what we believe.
So your manifesto states that will end the neglect that universities and further education colleges have faced over the years. Specifically, how do you plan to do this, and how will you make students' lives easier regarding finance and debt whilst at university?
So the Lib Dems are committed to reviewing finances for students and across higher education. So we have to look at how we fund this going forward. It's why a review is really, really useful. There has been one, but it's very problematic, so we do need another.
In the Lib Dems manifesto, there seems to be quite a high emphasis on lower education, but then the review and the university emphasis seems to have kind of diminished quite a lot. So I was just wondering, have you given up on the student vote?
Now, we would love a position where you have free education for all, but we've got to really understand that these things cost money, so we've got to find money from somewhere else. And where is that money going to come from? There are no money trees. I know when you look at the Labour manifesto, they seem to be promising the world to absolutely everybody, but ask them this: where is the money going to come from? Where are you going to generate that income from?
But ultimately, do you think you've regained the trust of students since the rise in tuition fees in the coalition government?
When I speak to students on a daily basis, and I've got lots of students who live in Leeds Northwest, they are more worried about Brexit, because they are really concerned that if Brexit goes through, whether it's a blue Conservative Brexit or whether it's Jeremy Corbyn's red Brexit, their futures have been taken away from them. Their future currently is by being part of the European Union. And what they are saying to us, for the first time, we are voting Liberal Democrats, because if nothing else, You're the only party here who is absolutely committed to stopping Brexit, and we want to stop Brexit in order to create a brighter future for ourselves and then for their future generations.
Your new leader, Joe Swinson, voted in favour of the rise in tuition fees. So why should students trust that you won't alter these again, maybe increasing them?
I think she's been really good and open in saying that the Liberal Democrats made some mistakes in government and they've learnt from them. But there's also a position of collective responsibility within the coalition that the Liberal Democrats entered into. So, yes, there were lots of positive things that were done within that government. There were lots of things that were done that wouldn't have been done without the Liberal Democrats there. Is fees something that a majority of Liberal Democrat members don't like? Yeah, probably. I think the majority of the base is unhappy with this notion that you should pay £9,000 to go to university. I think it's why we're committed to reviewing this and looking at this going forward.
This general election, there's a high chance that the Liberal Democrats could play a part in a coalition government. How do we know that this wouldn't happen again?
Let me be absolutely clear to you and to your listeners. The Liberal Democrats and I will not serve under Jeremy Corbyn or Boris Johnson. We are not talking about coalitions. We are talking about winning the election. And if we don't win at the election with an outright majority, we will certainly not go into coalition with either of these political parties. We cannot agree with either of them on their current stance on many of the issues, not least Brexit.
Just a final word from either of you. If you have a voice here to speak to the students of the university, what would in 2 sentences, why should they vote for both of you to come this election on the 12th of December?
If you want to stop Brexit and create a brighter future for yourselves and for your future generations, then vote Liberal Democrats.
I'm in this because of Brexit. I'm in this to stop Brexit. I'm so excited about a whole host of other Liberal Democrat policies, such as free childcare from 9 months, such as actually being the only party that seeks to build a robust, fair and sustainable economy in a really, really sensible and pragmatic way. But this is about stopping Brexit. The reason we're having the election is Brexit. If you want to resolve it and you want to resolve it quickly, the only way to do that is to revoke and remain.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in.